Welcome everybody to the latest Matchday Matinee, where we take... Hold on, you gotta start again. Yo, it's been 2 weeks, man.
Let's go.
Hello everybody and welcome to Matchday Matinee, where we take our love for football and cinema and dive into the cinematic takes of the beautiful game. My name is Raghav Sandhu and I'm joined by Adam and Mark Yerm. How are you guys doing? How are you doing, Mark?
Awesome, man. Nailed it. You nailed the intro. It's been a while. I didn't think you would do it, but you killed it, man.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks. We've been on a mid-season break.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of actual football, so I've totally botched that first intro, but it's fine. Adam, how are you doing?
Good. Also watching a lot of football. I'm in a better mood about football now. England won 3-0 against Wales today. And Portsmouth have scored 7 goals this week. Not in the same game, I should point out. 2 separate games.
Oh, wow.
So,
Aston Villa also scored 7 goals.
Oh, come on, guys.
That's what I was trying to say. Thank you for taking
Didn't have to. Yeah, on the week where I finally get all of my Liverpool memorabilia from England shipped to me. I finally grabbed it, so I had all the Liverpool echoes from the day after they won the Premier League. I've got the match day program from the day from the game after they won with the whole champions pullout and message from Jurgen Klopp, and I got the membership now for next year. So if I hypothetically could travel and wanted to watch a game, that I could potentially get some tickets. Probably not though, but let's dive into today's movie. Let's just get straight into it. So the movie that we are reviewing today is called Penalty. It's a Hindi language film available worldwide on Netflix. It was released on July 19th, 2019, and it runs for 2 hours and 8 minutes. It's directed by Shubham Singh, produced by Rudraksh Films, and it stars Lukram Smil as Lukram, so he actually uses his own name. And I believe that's because he's actually a Manipuri student that was kind of just taken on to do this film, so they wanted to use his real name. There's also another Manipuri student called Biju. That's actually his real name as well. So they kept the Manipuri students, they kept the name, and I'll get into what that means as we go on to the film. The film also stars Kay Kay Menon as Coach Vikram Singh of SMRU. And Kay Kay Menon is a huge actor in India. So this is not... Yeah, this is not a low... Okay. I mean, it's lower budget than Bollywood, but it's not... I mean, it's
a special appearance, as they called it in the credits.
Yeah. This guy is a huge deal. Shashank Arora as Parth, who's KK Menon's assistant coach in the film. He's not a huge actor, but he does a lot of art house films and is very popular for those. He has a bunch of awards in Indian cinema. And then we have Manoj Singh, who's personally my favorite character in the show, as Ishwar, who is Lukram's friend at the university. Yeah. I'll walk you through a brief synopsis of the film. I'm not going to go through the entire plot right now because I want to discuss it a little bit. But basically, at a Lucknow college, an aspiring football player's dream of playing for the national team is threatened when he faces discrimination for his Manipuri background. And that's exactly what the film's about. And I want to explain exactly what Manipuri is. So it's a state in northeastern India, very, very close to that Burmese, Chinese border in the Himalayas. And the people don't look like what you would think a typical Indian person looks like. They're more East Asian looking than they are South Asian looking. And the movie is essentially about the discrimination that he faces when he goes to Lucknow to attend college or university, and the discrimination he basically faces for not looking like the rest of the population and being from a different region. So that's essentially what the movie is about. But before we dive into the plot, what did you guys make of the film? What did you guys think of it? Initial thoughts? Mark.
I didn't really like it, to be honest. It wasn't exciting. It was a very slow movie. It was too heavy-handed in trying to be dramatic. The whole racism angle did catch me off guard. Like it wasn't until halfway through the movie, and that's mostly because of my ignorance of that area that you were speaking about, Manipuri, and just culturally, right? So it kind of like halfway through the movie, when all of a sudden I realized that he's being treated like this because of racism, it really was a shocking moment to me. It was almost like Bruce Willis, like is a ghost in Sixth Sense type thing where I'm like, oh my God, like that's why the girl didn't love him back. And that's why these people are mean to him. So yeah, it was completely my ignorance of it, but that was good. Everything else, not so much. It could have been good if they shortened it a bit and were a little bit more genuine with it. But yeah, like everything had to be over dramatic. And I don't know if that's just like that type of filmmaking, like Indian filmmaking, that they have to be so heavy handed. Yeah, I figured. But yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of it.
How about yourself, Adam?
Me neither. I was not the biggest fan of it. It definitely plodded. And I have a different view on the racism. I don't think it was well done. Like you said, it appears like halfway through the film. Like he still got to trial out for the team and stuff that we'll kind of get into. And the reason he didn't perform in that game and then he was like the sub that got subbed off was nothing to do with his race. It was because he was playing crap because he was pining after Pooja, the girl that declined him. And even with that, it wasn't obvious that she declined him because of his race necessarily. Like she found it sweet that he'd written a letter to her in Hindi. And then, I mean, we'll get into it when we get to it, but he doesn't. The racism is convenient. Like when they lose a game later on in the film, that's when they really turn on him. But really, it's because he played badly. Like they show you him. It's not like he did really well in the game and then they use racism anyway to pick on him. They're just all angry that they lost the game. And it's like, well, let's pick on the one guy that's different to the rest of us. It's like a convenient racism as it suits the plot, kind of. Yeah. And then the coaches aren't really racist all the way through. They kind of give him the support he needs. There's kind of a pivotal scene towards the end of the film that we find out why the coach is such a prick, basically. And it's nothing really to do with race. It's to do with like being a good sport on the pitch, kind of. It's just, yeah, really weird. And I mean, we'll get to it, but I think this film has some of the most shocking football scenes we've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, so in my opinion, I think what the theme of this movie is really a positive thing. It's a good thing to highlight. I think the execution was piss poor. I just, yeah, like you're right. You know, themes start showing up in the middle of the movie when it's like, when you see things, I even slacked you guys today. I'm like, this guy doesn't deserve to be on the team, right? No. Right, and yeah, I mean, I see what this film was trying to do, but the execution was just really, really poor. And I think some of the scenes were so drawn out, and some of the storylines were so drawn out, where I think this movie could have been shorter. It could have been more concise. And the main actor, even though this was his debut film and he doesn't come from acting, I thought he could have put a little bit more into the film, along with some of the supporting cast. Like I said, I think the actor Kay Kay Menon that played the coach of the university team that was being the dick to him, I think he did a really good job. And I think his friend that rooms with him, the actor Manoj Singh, who plays Ishwar in the movie, I think he did a really good job. Because he's meant to be one of those like happy-go-lucky guys. Everything's a laugh. And I think he did a really good job. I just think the racism issue or the prejudice or whatever you want to call it, I think they could have amplified it a little bit more. But I think the theme that they were trying to hit is something that India as a country fundamentally needs to do, and just shed some more light on it. Every region in India is different than the region that's beside it. There is no same two places. Like if you're from Punjab, you're a lot different than people that are from Gujarat, and you're a lot different than people that are from Mumbai. The South versus North are distinctly two different races, and now you're adding a third one from Manipur and these people that are from the Himalaya mountains. So it's like it's not a melting pot. It's actually a mosaic, but a divisive mosaic between different cultures, creeds, religions. And you see this stuff happening time and time again, whether it's sports, it's cinema, it's music. You do see these things where Northern Indian people that are a fair complexion are actually preferred to people from the South or more towards the East Asian side.
As long as you're Indian, I guess. The complexion is, it was really interesting. Yeah. Because I guess I've seen it before in like Indonesians, I guess, where you look East Asian, but you're South Asian, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that is really interesting to me.
Yeah. I mean, it gets worse, and I think Hassan Minhaj might have done or maybe had a piece on this or something where he said, and this is true because I've seen this ointment or cream or whatever you want to call it. It's called Fair and Lovely. It's sold to women to explicitly try to make them more light skinned.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of that too.
Sammy Sosa got hooked on that stuff.
Sorry,
Sammy Sosa, the baseball player.
Oh yeah.
If you see him now, like he's been using that cream every day. It's almost like a bleach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's white now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know that worked, but hey, what do I know?
I think it's literally a bleach. Yeah. You guys thought Kay Kay Menon was good in this movie?
He was okay in this movie.
I don't know. I felt like he was in a different movie sometimes. Like he was.
Do you know what I compare it to? The Street Fighter movie. Raul Julia like brought Bison, like this intensity, like a theatrical performance, and no one else around him is like as asked at all. Like the most. He gives these impassionate speeches. Also, there's the like training scenes where he's like drilling everybody and nobody looks like they're even trying. He's like, you're going to go harder, sprint. And they just like jog. And he's like, I'm going to make you sweat. And they're like deep breathing, but not sweating. Yeah. It's just like, he's putting his all into it. And they can't even be asked to like run. They don't even have to do any words at times. They just can't be bothered.
Yeah. There's one part where he's yelling at the guy because the guy's lazy or something. And he's like, he just says something. I can't remember what he says. But then like the shortest guy on the team runs up and jumps on the other guy's back. And the player's forced to carry him around, and he's playing it so intensely, but it's just you can't help but laugh at that.
Yeah. So this is fundamentally like an art house independent film in India. This does not have the backing of any major studio. I think I've never heard of this production house. Yeah,
it had a special thanks right at the beginning, right? So then that made me think, is it like crowdfunded or like at least independently funded or something?
Yeah, for sure, independently funded.
But Tourism India, I think, or Visit India, the tourism board funded it. I think I saw.
Yeah, probably.
So it's another My English Soccer adventure.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Manipur region is not very visited, if at all. Actually, I was reading the travel advisory for some reason after watching this movie, but it has basically said that, in the past at least, try to avoid all travel because there's terrorism, there's terrorism, there's violent muggings and things like that. And they say a lot of that influence is coming because it's right close to the Burmese border and they're in a crisis right now with a war. So, essentially, that it just trickles down to that area.
Yeah, it's beautiful though. They showed it in the first 10 minutes when he's traveling between Lucknow and Manipur. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Himalayan mountains. Like it's really nice.
Let me ask you something. So. Culturally, why is it that like when they were in class, they were all speaking, I think it was Hindi, right?
Yeah.
And then the teacher comes and she's speaking English. And then also some of their conversations are a mix of like, and I've seen this too, like Portuguese, because just growing up in Toronto around like Portuguese people and stuff like that, it's just a matter of, some English words and other words, in Portuguese. So you just kind of mash them together until you're fully integrated. But they're in India. So why is it that like some conversations are English, some are Hindi, and it's a mix?
Yeah, so India was under British rule until 1947 when they got independence. And the British had a big presence in India. Yeah. Even to this day, English is an official language of India. And you'll see that a lot of middle-class people, not necessarily from the villages, but urbans, do communicate in English on a daily basis. And so what they speak now is a variation of Hindi and English. So it's called like Hinglish. Right.
So it's like a fluidity between the languages.
Exactly. Okay. Like we do, like if I was to speak Punjabi at home, like I switch to English sometimes. I know I've heard other people speak Hindi, and it's like in Hindi, it's even more so because Punjabi is a little bit more of its own sub-regional language, but in Hindi for sure, because Hindi and English are so mainstream across India that they often get intertwined. And there's some services in India. I remember going to a bank in Delhi, actually, where they're like, hello, sir, how may I help you? Right? They wouldn't ask me in Hindi. They asked me straight up in English. And I don't think that's because I look like I'm from North America. I just think that's how they communicate.
Is it some phrases and expressions just work better in English?
I don't know. I get it's just so intertwined in the culture now that it's like even a person that doesn't know English, let's say, will still use some words in English. I, to this day, don't know how to say table in Punjabi or Hindi. To this day, I don't know how to say
But
table.
you can say table to somebody who doesn't speak English and they'll know what you mean, kind of.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like it actually is fluid then. Like.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's dive into the plot a little bit. So we did mention that Lukram is from Manipur, which is a rural area in the Himalayas, close to the Burmese border. And his dream is fundamentally to play football. Fundamentally, it is to make the Indian national team. And in order to do that, he has to play for one of the best football colleges in India, which is located in Lucknow, which is SMRU. I'm not even going to attempt to say the full version of that name, but for our purposes, it's SMRU. And it's actually known for producing international level footballers. And so, like you were mentioning, Mark, that drive from Manipur to Lucknow, you said it's beautiful, and that's really what India is all about. There's a lot of natural beauty, but when he gets to Lucknow, he finds his room and he runs into Ishwar Singh, who becomes his roommate, who is of Sikh religion. So he's actually from Punjab, but he's a happy-go-lucky guy. He basically, tries to talk to Lukram, but he's not really talking to him. And at this point, Ishwar actually thinks like he's mute, right? He does
in his head though.
Sorry.
So when he's walking around the room getting dressed, was that conversation in his head, or was part of it out loud?
Part of it was in his head.
Yeah. Okay.
Part of it because he's like, why won't this guy speak to me or something? Yeah.
And then they didn't do that again for the rest of the movie. It was just that one. You heard his internal monologue, and that was it.
That's also a very Indian way to speak in general, though, right? Like how sometimes. When you're talking to somebody and you don't really like what they're saying, and you just go, "Is this guy crazy or what?" Right? Like,
and I noticed they all refer to themselves in the third person.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, most normal people don't do that, but some of these guys do. There's also a lot of expressions that are used in the movie that I noticed didn't translate over too well in the subtitles, and I'm like, these people just must be thinking that these guys just said something totally ridiculous, which wasn't what they said. And there's a line later in the movie where he says something about I'm creating this only for you, and it just like it seems like he's hitting on him almost. But it was So most of the translations worked well, but some of them were questionable.
What's annoying? They on Netflix they put the subtitles for when they're speaking Hindi, but then they didn't do the subtitles for when they're speaking English.
Yeah,
they're speaking really low with an accent, and you want the subtitles for that, but they just didn't put it for some reason.
Yeah, absolutely, and they should have done that because they do that on movies where also people with a thick accent may not speak in a British or a North American accent. So I think they should have just persisted with the subtitles, but I don't know. I think I don't know why Netflix picked up this movie in the first place, but I definitely don't think this was meant for an international audience. I
don't know. There was one period where they just dumped like 30 Indian movies at one point.
Yeah,
that's true.
They license a bunch of content and they just dump it on there, right, the library.
But at this point, when Lukram meets Ishwar and he goes to his room, of course he's starting to decorate his room, and this is the first time we actually see him hanging up a poster of Messi. So that was kind of cool. So paying homage to a real life footballer and saying, hey, I want to be one of the best. I want to represent the Indian national team. So that was pretty cool.
Lots of Ronaldo references as well. CR7 boots.
The boots. Yeah.
There was one part when he's like, who do you think you are? Messi, Ronaldo? And then he mentions like a third Indian player I've never heard of.
Is it Sunil Chhetri?
No, it's like
Baichung Bhutia?
Yeah.
So interesting fact. So let's get into our first fast fact of this podcast, this episode, sorry. India's two most famous footballers are Sunil Chhetri and Baichung Bhutia, and they are both from the northeast around Manipur.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if they're exactly from Manipur, but they're not. They're from the northeast where that's located, and they are also more look like they're Southeast Asian rather than South Asian.
Oh, cool.
So that's cool. Sunil Chhetri actually is now a TV pundit in India for the Premier League games, so that's pretty cool.
What clubs do they play for? Any big clubs?
No, not really. Not really, no.
Okay.
Yeah. But at this point, Lukram and Ishwar start talking, and Lukram expresses that the only reason he came to this college is because this college is known for its soccer program, and he wants to utilize the soccer program in hopes to one day make it to the Indian national team. But he's all sad because he's like, I missed the registration. And Ishwar, obviously with his happy-go-lucky nature, he's like, oh, don't worry, man. We'll make it happen tomorrow. Honestly, that dialogue, that's the way Punjabi people are, right? It's like, yo, don't worry about it. We'll get it done, right? We'll get it done tomorrow. Even though like sometimes there's zero chance of that happening.
That's the other thing that's a bit weird. If this team was super famous for only having, later on where it's established that it only has players from that area, why would he come here? Like, did he really think he was going to become, I mean, ultimately he does, but did he genuinely believe he would become a trendsetter and be the only player from Lucknow that's like a success in this team? Because the coach is like, no, we only pick our own local players. Look at all of these pictures. It's just really weird that he would take such a chance, especially when we learn his dad doesn't believe in it, and I don't know, it just seems so strange and not believable.
And that's what it is, right? There's a lot of plot holes in this movie, and that's what fundamentally makes it take a good theme and then butcher it, in my opinion, right?
Like you said, piss poor execution, right? Half-assed and doesn't make sense.
It doesn't even look like this guy's played football before. Like there's one training scene with Partha where Partha's telling him, like, use the inside of your foot to kick the ball. And then he's actually like, he's holding his leg and kicking with it like he's a little kid. So it's not really evident that he's even played when he was back in Lucknow or Manipur.
I don't know, man. Yeah, exactly. So at this point, they go in the morning to register to trial for this team 2 weeks after registrations have closed. And they try to talk to an assistant coach, Parth, who's played by Shashank Arora, as I mentioned before, who's a popular art house actor with many awards, as I said before. And he essentially says, no, sorry, registrations are closed. But he sees the two, waiting around for the what's it called? The time of the entire practice session. And then he gives them a chance. He says, okay, you know what? Come in. We'll see what you're all about. But then I think, the first time he goes in, he actually does pretty well. He scores a goal, I think. And then after that point, he kind of starts to become friends with some of the other boys on the soccer team, as well as other people around the school. And he meets a girl whose name is Pooja, and essentially he starts falling in love with her, or starts liking her really, really badly. And that was thrown in there for no reason whatsoever, right? And you'll find that with a lot of Indian movies, there's always a love angle thrown into the Indian movies where it's not even needed, right? It has nothing to do with the plot. It doesn't advance the plot in any sort of way.
Sorry, go on.
It happened in like 5 minutes where he's in the library and you realize he loves this girl, and then they show a montage of 5 minutes of scenes that happened before, but from his perspective, where he's loved her this whole time. Yeah. And then he tells her that he loves her, and she's like, I'm sorry, I don't love you back. And that's it. You never hear about it again.
That's what I was about to say. It's like they just drop it halfway through, and actually, like I said, it undermines some of the racism stuff, because it's like he's clearly plays poorly in the game after because he's pining after her. And then for it to not have any, it doesn't get. We see her at the game at the end cheering for him, and it's like, that's it. Like, okay, great. So presumably she still cares about the university football team doing well, but probably not here. It's just so weird.
He's what the kids call a simp nowadays. So, ahead of its time. There we go. But it's funny though, because you would imagine that these trials are maybe a week, 2 weeks, and you're telling me he learned the language of Hindi in that amount of time. That language has 46 letters, is extremely hard to even write because it has, a bunch of these grammatical, I don't even know what they're called, right? That there's no way.
Does he actually learn to speak it though? Or does he just translate a letter using the dictionary? Because they show him that big dictionary, right? Does he actually just translate the words? And like, if you actually read it, it probably, use like Google Translate. It doesn't actually make sense sometimes. Maybe he just did that.
It could be. It could be. It could be. I don't know. But in the movie, it was presented as like, oh, you learned Hindi just for me? And it's like, he already knew how to speak it, first of all. And yeah, I mean, if we're to believe that he actually learned to read and write the language in a week, that's very unbelievable because people spend their entire lives doing that. But yeah, anyways, that girl angle ends, and then he's back out on the football pitch, and he's clearly butthurt about being denied by this girl who obviously doesn't like him, and he starts to really mess up on the training pitch. And they have an exhibition game after that where he messes up and he concedes 2 goals at least to the other team. And the other team is supposed to be just this collection of boys from around the area, right? And in the beginning of the game, you can see that the team, the university's team, is all like, "Oh, these kids, we're gonna roll over them. We're gonna roll over them." The kids score first. Lukram comes on as a substitute, loses the ball twice, they score both times, and then in the locker room, everybody's essentially blaming him and saying, "Hey man, what are we trying to do?" And they actually call him a chinky in the locker room, so that's where the racism aspect kind of gets played. But it flies so under the radar.
Yeah, and it's so casual because it's straight after this. They cut to a training scene with, again, terrible training scene, super intense music, but they're all still training. There's no, you'd expect it to build on a bit, like some of the other players giving him a filthy look or something, or tripping him up whilst he's doing his drills, and there's nothing. Yeah. And it's just you've got to build on it. You can't just throw in a word there, then leave it, and then wait until later in the movie where they explode him again, and then kind of... And things do escalate, but it's just
well, they do that with several things in this movie. They just they bring it up. They play this really dramatic music in the background to emphasize it. And then in that scene, what was Kay Kay Menon's name again? Vikram walks into the locker room and just kind of looks at everybody. And then I think he holds up his finger and then he just walks out.
Yeah.
That guy, Baljeet, the assistant, I think.
Yeah.
He's in a completely different movie. Vikram coming in with this intensity of we're tackling racism in this movie, and it's going to be a serious movie. We're talking about social issues, and then Baljeet's in the background, he's what's the fat guy's name from Borat? Azamat. Yeah, he's rolling around like he's Azamat, sweating, talking about eating 5 loaves of bread. He's just in a completely different movie. That guy,
his mother.
I'm here for he's hilarious. I'm here for it.
You didn't think he was a lard ass?
No, Lardass had this cool about him, right? Whereas this guy was comic relief.
Yeah, he was forced comic relief, let's say that.
Yeah, there's actually one phone call where Vikram's on one end and he's on the other end, and it's 2 different movies. One guy's in a Steven Soderbergh movie, and then the other guy's just padding his sweat and oh man.
Yeah.
So weird.
Yeah, I mean, and I think with Indian movies, especially if they're backed now by big time studios, have started to get the timing correct. Back in the 90s, the 80s, 90s, you would see a lot of movies like this where some of the timing, the comic relief was just so out of the blue that you were like, what the hell? But then I guess a lot of Indian people grew up on that, so it was fine. But I think it's only very lately, beginning of the 2000s, that Indian cinema really became more mature and started to get the timing right, started good screenplays. We used to have what they would call formula movies in India, back in the 90s especially, which a formula movie is guy likes girl doesn't like guy, but then girl starts liking guy. Girl's family hates the guy. Guy has to jump through all these hoops to convince girl's parents. There's a huge fight in the end where the girl's parents send gangsters after him. He beats up 10 guys just by himself. And then somehow they're all accepting of each other and they get married. That was the formula for at least 100 movies in the 90s.
But Bollywood pumps out movies like crazy, right? More than Hollywood does.
Oh, 100%. It's the biggest movie industry in the world.
And none of them are decent. It sounds like they're kind of easily digestible, kind of popcorn flicks.
Popcorn flicks is the correct word. So a lot of them are rom-com / popcorn flicks. The ones that are really, really, really well done obviously hold a very close, very close memory to my heart and to countless other people that grew up in the 90s,
Much more revered, yeah.
Much more revered. But there's some that are just geez, I've seen this movie before, right? Like,
it's comforting, I guess.
Yeah, but basically the point I was trying to make is that Indian cinema has matured a lot since then, where they're starting to tackle a bunch of different issues, and that's what I was saying about this movie. I think this movie was actually trying to do that, but then the execution was like those movies from the 90s.
Yeah,
where right, like, so yeah, that's my take on it.
Them actors as well.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was the direction or it was that actor, but when Lukram would speak, and then he would almost wait for the other person to just get their line out so he could just shout his line out next as he could. Like the timing was just really bad in a lot of those scenes.
So let me ask you this. Who was your favorite character in this movie?
Adam, go for it. It sounded like you're about to say. I have mine.
Probably Ishwar, the roommate. Because he just had the funny, like he came in full blast with like a more mellow type of comedy than the assistant manager that kind of did fit the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be him. He was kind of the crux of the film. He supported him. I also like that weird artist guy that was
Bijou.
Yeah,
Bijou. He had great graphic t-shirts.
Yeah.
Right.
It was also like he said, don't bother with these people, they're gonna be racist towards you, they're not really your friends. But just the way he was just weird, like just painting in the streets and stuff was cool.
Yeah. I liked Prath. Like I liked his introduction. He just looked like this like cool guy with the long hair, the glasses, and then once you got to know him, he was kind of like an endearing character. He had this whole character arc where like he eventually turned against Vikram, made the excuse about his mom, and stood up for Lukram, coached the other team, and his story was probably the greatest to me. And I actually did like the actor. And he looked like an Indian Seth Green. Like, it was kind of a cool guy.
I actually agree with both of you. I think I think Parth for sure. Just based on the performance by the actor, but also the story arc. Right? He's this legendary footballer for this university who's obviously gone through the same system that Lukram is going through and not being very successful in. But is able to change his ways, saying, hey, look, man, we're not doing something right. We're doing something wrong. And then being able to be that character that really tries to change things in this movie. So I thought that was really good. But anyways, we're at the point where, they're really unhappy with his performance in the locker room and they call him racial slurs. And they even try to beat him up in his room one night. And he escapes.
That didn't make sense. So they were unhappy with his performance, but then they wanted to break his leg so that he wouldn't steal that one guy's position because he was going to play on the left wing, right?
Yeah, there was something, wasn't there, about them picking the other. He did play in that game where he played well. He played in his position, I guess.
Yeah,
so he threatened by him, I guess, even though he'd done badly in the game where he got subbed off. Yeah, it was weird. It would have made more sense if it had happened before.
Correct.
And then if he'd played badly because that was on his mind, like that would have made sense.
Yeah. So it was, I think he is originally a left winger. So Lukram is originally a left winger, but he was put on the right to take over from this other guy who was unhappy. And they basically coerce a plan to, beat him up and break his leg so he doesn't take his position. And basically what they do in order to do that is pull Ishwar out of his room because, they're trying to hold a party, right? Which is just a fake lie to get Ishwar out of his room. And then when Lukram is running away from them, he goes into Bijou's room, who's like, don't trust these people. He sees them outside and Ishwar's hanging out with them. So he automatically thinks that Ishwar is like them too. He's not on his side, in on it, right? He's like, everybody hates him here. And the next morning they actually go to check who's made the team, and his name is not there. So Lukram's name is not there. The most random thing in this movie, by the way, before I go any further, Ishwar went to help Lukram get a late registration to try out for the team. Yeah. How did Ishwar make this team?
So I wonder, and how was it good and like, there's no evidence that he likes football. Like when Lukram says to him, "Oh, I'm here to play football," he's not like, "Oh, me too. I love football. I'm already on the team." Yo,
no, he had the ball, man. He was like, "This is my ball. You don't touch my ball."
Yeah, but still, just like he was there for it all. It was weird.
No, but it's also weird. So he had the ball, but that day when the team was practicing, when he takes him to do late registration, he's also just standing on the sidelines.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
forgot about that. Dumb movie.
Yeah, I'm just like so many holes, man. I'm like, what's going on? How did this just happen? How is this guy on the team, right? Like,
I had the question about they tried to break his leg with a hockey stick, right? Is hockey?
No.
It looked like
That was field hockey.
Yeah,
I think it was field hockey.
Field hockey
Okay.
is
big in India?
enormously popular, especially in Punjab.
Okay, it's one of those sports that's like quietly quite popular in England as well. Like more people play field hockey than I think people realize.
I forget about it. Once every 4 years, I remember field hockey exists when it shows up in the Olympics.
There's actually a great Indian sports movie on the women's field hockey team. That's actually pretty good. Like not like this one. Big money behind it, studio. So it's good.
Okay, speaking of money behind it, this movie must not have had like a hair and makeup department.
Probably not. It was all guys, anyways, wasn't it?
Yeah, but like. Bad dye jobs, and like even Vikram, if he's a big movie star, like you can see like the black dye on the outside of his hair and then the inside was brown, and then nobody had like decent haircuts, and everyone was kind of wearing whatever they found.
I'm not even sure Vikram took money for this movie or Kay Kay Menon took money for this movie.
You just heard it was
I think he's just like
racial injustice
maybe just like either that or just hey, just pay me a small appearance fee and that's it. Like I don't think he can command that much money from this kind of budget of what budget this film was.
No, he took the hair and makeup budget.
Just to get it.
Yeah. So at this point, Lukram realizes he doesn't make the team, and he now starts falling into the whole notion that, these people are really against me. They try to beat me up. Now I'm not making the team. They don't like me.
Here's the thing, though. So they tried to beat him up. That's just because they're like fucking insane, and this one guy doesn't want to lose his place on the team. I feel like he might have done that no matter who it was.
100%.
And then
true,
the film to
for sure.
turn and make out like everybody's racist against him makes no sense because they gave him a chance up till this point. He did well in one game and then he absolutely sucked in another game. It's nothing to do with his race at all. It doesn't present a compelling case that it's to do with his race. And then we get this half-assed thing that they don't pick outsiders. But what if that's their policy to just like promote players that are within their own, like, they might be like Athletic Bilbao, like only have players.
That's who I thought of. That's who I thought of. That's who I thought of when I was watching
policy. Cool. They probably shouldn't have let him try out. They probably just sort of said, hey, look, we look to train local players, perhaps try somewhere more close to home or something, or go to an academy around here that does support people from out of town. But so it's not overtly racist just because there's footballing reasons not to pick him. And then his teammates are just kind of psychopaths.
It's like they thought of it halfway through the movie.
Yeah, well, I was gonna try to pick another plot hole in this movie where Ishwar plays on the team and he's Sikh, and Sikhs are mostly from Punjab, and this is set in Lucknow, which is in UP. But then I started thinking there are plenty of Sikhs in UP as well, so it's like that might not be a plot hole, but.
Halfway through the movie, they're just like, "What if we end racism with this movie?"
That's it. But he's all dejected at this point. He's like, you know what? I'm getting the hell out of here. He just goes home, back to Manipur. And his mom obviously welcomes him home. Hey, my son's home, all this. And his dad's like, yo, you're a coward. You ran away. That's what you always do. You run away. And his dad's not happy. His dad wasn't happy when he initially left to go to Manipur. He's not happy that he's back. I don't know. What do you guys think about this scene?
The only cool bit about it is when he goes through see his old coach, and there's a bunch of little kids, and he's like, "Hey, everybody, tell me who this is. A friend of Lukram's. Tell us what you think of Lukram." And they all like idolize him because he's
Lukram's a bitch.
Yeah. He's like a hero, hasn't he? That's gone off to this school and he's built up this story of him being successful. I was like, that's kind of cute. And he's like, why didn't you tell him that I'm Lukram? And he's like, well, because they can't know you came back a failure. Like, get back there.
It's like Davies going to Bayern Munich and then coming back to play for Montreal Impact or somebody.
Yeah, he just shuffle back.
Or FC Edmonton.
That'd be good, yeah. FC Edmonton. He started there. That makes way more sense,
but hopefully Alphonso Davies never has to do that. But but at this point, I don't even know what drives him to go back. Like, he just writes a letter to his family. He's like, hey, I'm running away again. Next shot, he's back in Lucknow. Right?
It takes like 2 days, right? To get back and forth.
probably.
Yeah, because that's how he misses registration, isn't it? Because there's been an earthquake, so the trip takes him longer to get there because it's a multi-day trip anyway, and then the earthquake made it even longer. And then it's super weird when he gets back. This is at this point that I keep forgetting his name, the artist friend, Bijou. Yeah. He's putting up protest posters about Lukram not being in the team.
Yeah, why not Lukram?
And then everybody's kind of joining in. So it's like, okay, so they're not racist then. Like, everybody's behind him. And it was this point I realised that Pooja had disappeared from the film because you just see her in the background of one scene holding a poster up. And I was like, oh yeah, shit, he left her at the beginning of the film.
What is the point of her in the film? What I don't understand. There's no reason. They didn't even explain that she said no because she's racist. No. She just said no because she doesn't like the guy.
And he also asked her at a really unopportune time. She was literally about to go on stage for a performance. She was super nervous about it, waiting for her line to run on stage. And he's like, oh, here's a letter to declare my love for you. And she's like, I gotta go on stage now. See ya.
But he said, I love you. Like, it wasn't even like, hey, I have feelings for you. Do you want to go on a date sometime? He just rolled up and he was like, I love you. So in India, you know how here we have the notion of the L word. Oh my God, it's been a year. Maybe I love this girl. Let me tell her I love her. That's not like that in India. I love you is just to express that you like somebody. Right? That's weird. So what do you say when you actually love the person?
Yeah, you just like them. I just want to ask out. So here it gets better. When you ask out a girl in certain parts of India, most of it, you tell your buddies, hey, I'm going to propose to this girl. When you ask her out.
Okay.
Right? That's what it is. I'm going to propose to her. So propose.
At that point, you're like, let's get married, have a couple kids.
No. I'm saying going out was us, us asking somebody, hey, will you go out with me?
That's the proposal.
That's the proposal. That's I'm going to propose to her. Yeah.
These days they're doing like promposals and stuff like that. So it's not even that far off the radar here.
Yeah. But if I'm like, I saw this girl at a club, we started talking a couple of days ago, I'm going to go propose to her. Like, you just think I was weird, right? Like, I mean, it's obviously culturally very different. I mean, proposing to them means they're going to ask them out. That's basically
walk up to the girl in the club. Hey, girl, I love you.
Not ask them out. It means they're going to ask them to be their girlfriend. That's a better explanation.
Okay.
Yeah. It is proposing if you think about it, but
like arranged marriages and stuff like that. Would that be from that region, or is that another part of India?
No, arranged marriages from all over. But
like,
more
what is that culturally?
What do you mean?
Is it like a certain culture that does that, or is it like
it's all over India as far as I know? Yeah, it's all over. Arranged marriage is a very Hindu thing, and then 74% of India is Hindu. So it's very prominent within that community. It doesn't matter what region they're from, right? It's just it's a very prominent thing. But you'd see more of the middle class, new generation, let's say millennials, Generation Z, whatever it is, are more inclined to now not have arranged marriages.
But if I have a few friends that you would think wouldn't expect it, but at the same time, instead of trying to date people here and go through the whole kind of like not Tinder, but the whole here, they would just tell their parents, can you set me up with somebody? And that's like somewhat of an arranged marriage, but at the same time, it's kind of, we'll introduce you with a nice boy.
So what you see a lot these days is a hybrid where your parents will be like, hey, this is a great guy. We know him from this place. He lives here. We know of him through some family friends. Why don't you guys, go out on a date and see if you guys jive with each other. That's what it is. Cool. It's basically your friends trying to set you up, but your friends, in this case, are your parents. So a lot of it has also become hybrid. There are absolutely arranged marriages that still take place in India, but I would find more in the urban centers, with the population of India in general being majority of it, I think, under 25 years of age. You see a lot more prominent, you see a prominent dating scene, you see a prominent clubbing scene where people are just picking up chicks or picking up dudes or whatever it is. And then this hybrid model of getting married. Yeah.
So that'd be so good if you were single. Like, you do everything, you date, you get out of your system, and then you're like, all right, I'm good. Set me up.
Right. The perfect person set for life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have ever watched that show on Netflix called Indian Matchmaking. I swear everybody's watched it, right? Yeah, and seen it. So basically, they explain to you what a biodata is, right? So basically, it's a stat sheet about this guy's a lawyer. He's 5'11". He weighs 180 pounds. He does this, and this. He has this. He makes this much money, and this is what you compare. You know, a potential match. It's like, oh, this guy, this girl. Let them go out on a date and see if they
actually
draft. It is like it's like yeah.
Have you guys seen The Big Fix on Amazon Prime?
No,
it's a good movie. I think it's Kumail Nanjiani.
Oh, okay. Oh, The Big Sick.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, sorry, Big Sick. Yeah, Big Fix is the soccer movie. Yeah. Sorry, Big Sick. Yeah, great movie.
It's a good film.
Yeah. Anyways, we've kind of deviated off track and started talking about dating and relationships on the Indian subcontinent. It was a great discussion. I'd like to discuss this further. Yeah, but at this time, he's now made his way back to Lucknow, and he's essentially, wanting to still play soccer. So he finds essentially a street team, I guess you can call it. The best way to call it. Yeah. It's the Street Army. Yeah, the team is called the Street Army, and they all grew up playing in the streets, and they're all orphans, and some of them have disabilities, like they're mute or they're deaf. But basically what they're showing is this is a team of misfits that society doesn't want in general. And because you've gone through this kind of traumatic experience, you also can fit in here. So they're basically a team of misfits that are pretty good at football. So you can see them practicing. They practice on the street. They hold I know those guys you see outside BMO Field that do all those tricks and stuff.
Techers?
The Tecker guys. They do that. And then basically they get entered into a tournament where SMRU, the original Lucknow University team, is also going to be playing, as well as the other elite teams throughout India.
They're not in a tournament though, right?
No. So you're right.
They play a friendly,
game before the final. They play both teams.
Yeah.
So another fun fact is actually the coach of this Street Army team tries to pay somebody off to make this team enter the tournament. And that kind of stuff does happen in India. But
happens in Canada too.
I guess.
CSL.
Yeah.
Right here at home.
But they basically kind of agree to some terms where it's like, yeah, you will play, whoever the two finalists are, you'll play them in an exhibition match before the final takes place. And that's basically what happens. Do you guys want to?
Oh, so that's why they play two friendlies.
They play two friendlies.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Because I thought they were just going to play Vikram's team, the SMRU, but then they played the other team. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and essentially, you see football of all the top university teams playing each other. Who is it that makes the final? So SMRU makes the final, as well as Punjab makes the final. And Punjab historically has been a very good footballing state in India, so that was kind of realistic. The other strong. So just as another aside, the strongest region in India for football is Bengal. The Bengal region is like the strongest. But anyways, Punjab and SMRU make the final. And of course, because they're the two finalists, they get to play an exhibition match against the Street Army team. So Street Army team makes easy work of the Punjab team. What's his name? Lukram scores a couple of goals. He looking good. And then the final, but not the final against SMRU happens. I would wanting to know what your thoughts are on this game.
Oh, one thing I missed before we talk about that. It's just before this that we get to see the trophy for the tournament. And what a fucking trophy.
So sick, man. Insane. Jeweled globe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I've never seen it. So sick, yeah.
But
it's got rubies in it.
Yeah. Like every gem, it's like one of each precious gem on there. It's just ridiculous. This game's terrible, but I don't know. It's really weird. It's like they tried to up the intensity of the games, but the quality doesn't quite. They can't because they can't. None of them can play football, and whoever's like the director doesn't know how to film them not being able to play football. Like we've seen a lot of ways that stuff is masked. This doesn't do it. We get a lot of those low high cuts, but the problem is when it cuts to their feet still can't do football. Like they're not
The one important detail I forgot to mention, because this movie's all over the place, is that a couple of scenes before this tournament, Ishwar actually stands up for Lukram against his coach, Vikram, and basically says, yeah, you guys shouldn't have let him go, because the coach is basically seeing that all these protests are happening around campus, and the coach basically kicks him out. Biju notices that this is what happened to Ishwar, and then he takes him to rekindle his friendship with Lukram, and they both play for the Street Army in the final, in these exhibition final, whatever you guys want to call them, games. And so, yeah, they're both on the team together. And you're definitely right, Adam, man. The what their feet do and what their upper body is doing looks like they were shot not in the same scene.
Yeah, and like abysmal goalkeepers. Like the first game against the Punjab team, like everyone's raving about Lukram, and it's actually that like he dribbles round in the entire team because nobody else is moving. Yeah, and then like the keepers just dive after the ball's past them. There's that one where I forget who scores it. There's a free kick in one of the games we see, and the keeper like literally sets up the wall. It's like straight on, and he stood behind the wall, and then the ball just sort of goes in, and he's like, it's just
it's amazing. I can't wait to talk about the Footy Flicks after we finish up this scene. But essentially Thing scores first. Sorry, the Street Army scores first. I think it is Lukram that scores first against SMRU, and then SMRU ties it up, and basically the ending of this football scene is the most horrendous thing I've ever seen in my life. This guy, Lukram, basically gets a nice pass into him. He controls it. He's jostling with the last defender that's left, and he pushes him out of the way. And the defender gets injured. Clearly, somehow he aggravates his leg, even though he got pushed by his shoulder. Yeah. And Lukram is on a breakaway, and he can see the guy's injured. And Lukram is like, he just stops and just stares back. He's on a breakaway, keeper in front of him, just on a breakaway, and he's just staring back at this player, dead, just stopped.
Everyone stops.
And then, people are like, Lukram, go, score a goal. You're free. You're on one-on-one with the keeper. And he leaves the ball, and then he goes back, and he's like, hey, bro, are you okay? Dude, did you guys watch the Toronto game yesterday?
No.
Did you, Bark, see the Toronto game yesterday? So Io Akinola did the exact same thing and scored a goal.
Yeah.
Right?
The guy fell. Yeah,
the guy fell. And that's like Io Akinola stopping and be like, hey, bro, are you okay? Like, score the damn goal. Like,
the ref didn't even blow the whistle. So everyone on the field stopped. Lukram was right in front of the net. Yeah. He stopped. He turned around. He looked at this guy. This guy was lying on the floor. And it was like... I think I brought up like in a past episode, but like Austin Powers, when there's that guy lying on the floor and Austin Powers is like about to run him over, and it's like a 5-minute scene, and the guy's like, no, but he just goes towards him slowly. Yep. So this guy's lying on the floor and he's got his arm outstretched and he's like, and then Lukram walks towards him. I don't even know what he does. I thought the guy dislocated his shoulder and Lukram was going to pop it back in, but he just holds the guy's arm and they both look at each other for like literally 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes of the movie where this guy's screaming, Lukram's looking at him, and then the entire like team is just, both teams are just watching him. Yeah. And then the coaches,
like if it just wouldn't happen. Like, this team's meant to be full of racists. Like, where's one of them like going, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is why you aren't on our team, because of this behavior, you stupid.
But like logistically it wouldn't happen. Like the ball's dead. Yeah. They're both looking at each other. And then there's one guy looking at his watch and it's like 89.54, 89.55. And then it hits 90. And then he blows the whistle and the game's over.
There's at least 3 minutes of stoppage time just from that play, bro. Like,
yeah, man. So okay, if you don't watch this movie, like, just watch this scene at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my recommendation. Just watch this at least, like the last 4 or 5 minutes. So bad.
Crazy. And then basically Vikram comes out. He grabs Lukram by the shoulder into the dressing room like he's fucking Jose Mourinho or something, right? Like,
everyone just watches.
And he basically starts talking to him like, "This is why you're not on our team, because you think you're sportsmanlike. You just felt bad." Basically, all this stuff. And he's like, "I know of another player that's done that in the past."
I'm not going to say who, but I know a guy.
I'm not going to say who
he was.
And his team was also racist to him, and he played against that former team, and he also stopped on a breakaway and helped another guy out. I'm like, what is going on here? Right?
And I know who it was. I know him really well, but I'm not going to say who it was. Guess what? It was me.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, right? So then that kind of undercuts this whole. It's like, again, it's not actually racist. He has this insane personal vendetta against the regime, and he's like, "I'm going to make this university team the best team ever because I was once showed some sportsmanship behavior, and that was a weakness. And now I'm going to take them all down from the inside by winning this shitty university trophy."
But did they cut him down for that weakness, or because he was from a different region? Because he said the Northeast region controlled.
He insinuates they cut me for that weakness because I was from another region. Because I messed up and because I'm from another region, that's why they cut me.
So that was like a third strike.
Yeah.
It wasn't just.
Yeah. And he's like, "You know what? I got back into football for 20 years, holding this vendetta inside of me. And I look at you, and you shouldn't be another Vikram Singh. You should actually go on and have a career. And that's why I invite you to play the final for my team."
Forget that registration nonsense I talked about before, and forget the fact that we only coach our own players. You're on the team, boy.
And he's captain.
Yes.
And they make him captain.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I guess it cuts, doesn't it, to the final?
Just the final. Standing in line. You know how you stand in line before you're about to kick off, and that's it. It's done.
The other one thing, though, the racist guy that tried to attack him earlier gives him Lukram the captain's armband, so therefore gets redemption that he did not earn at all.
No.
Last time we saw him, he's still a racist, still trying. In the context of this film, we still don't. There's no reason to believe that he's not a racist and a psychopath. Yet here he gives Lukram the captain's armband to be like, "Yeah, we accept you." Like. And maybe because of the gesture of the sportsmanship, staring into that guy's eyes, he was just like, "Yeah, you're now the captain." Like,
jeez.
The last 10 minutes of this movie are such a whirlwind that.
But it's so bad. It's so bad that it's funny.
And then the worst thing,
I was laughing out loud. Yeah,
I was laughing. I was like, "This is absurd." And then. The other thing is, we don't get to see the fucking final. As if like
they show his face and then they just blow the whistle. I thought we were going to see him play for India.
So I thought like maybe it'll flash forward and we'll cut to something.
Here. I know what they tried to do here. So I think from their perspective, they were making this like crazy art house film that hits up all these themes and talks about discrimination and all this stuff, and they want to leave it open ended like an artsy ending. This movie was crap. There's so many plot holes. And we didn't even get to see the final, so it's like
he's transcended racism, and the fact that he's made it onto this pitch as the captain, that's it. Like it doesn't matter where his career goes from here, he's won. And like,
I think they're trying to make an Indian goal trilogy. Because they called it like, instead of goal, it's penalty. And then when the movie starts, there's actually a cool title sequence where it's like the center circle and stuff like that. But it says penalty, living to a dream or something like that. I can't remember what it was. The subtitle was.
Yeah.
And he wants to play for India. So I think they're trying to do 2 more in this trilogy where he's the Indian Santiago Muniz.
Why would you call it penalty though? It's literally
explain that. Yeah. There's not a single penalty.
Literally the worst way to score the goal. Yeah, there's literally no penalty. And I think what they were trying to say is, hey, this whole discrimination thing, penalty, right? It still doesn't make sense, even them trying to justify it.
No, they could have called it like red card. It would have been better.
Or foul. Yeah, something.
Anything. Anything is better. Like I said, the theme is definitely something that needs to be talked about. Man, this execution was bad. Yeah. And, the last 10 minutes were so bad that they were hilarious. That's all it is. But guys, let's move on to the Footy Flicks. I know we've mentioned them a little bit, but what were your favorite Footy Flicks? Let's go, Adam.
We talk about my least favorite, like.
You can talk about anything you want to about Footy Flicks.
So the one worst thing was, there's that opening scene, we didn't really talk about it, where there's a football match. It doesn't make it look good at all. We get that split shot of the top of the bottom and the footwork is terrible. He shoots. I'm pretty sure the ball doesn't cross the line even. and he starts to celebrate. And then what makes it all the more stupid is he wakes up and that was a dream scene. And at that point, I was like, okay, so that's meant to show like the best of football. And they couldn't even get that right. Like that's meant to be like that's like at the beginning of Bend It Like Beckham, where they use that Manchester United footage and superimpose her into that. That's the dream of how good football could be. They can't even get that right.
It's true.
One of the players later on scores a shitty header. I think it's him. He scores a really crap header, and Pooja's like, "Wow, what a goal!" It's like actually, not really, because later on in the movie, we see him heading a ball in the training scene, and actually proves he doesn't have to head a football because and it's just like, yeah.
You know, they often say, and this is me again, not going off on a tangent, but just going to mention this. They often say that, you know, they spend a lot of money in India on cricket, that it doesn't really trickle down into other sports. And this movie actually shows it. Just from the poor production, because the cricket movies in India are awesome, right?
So is that the other thing as well then? Is this, because I thought, okay, these are meant to be the creme de la creme of the university players. Like, and I remember going to university, like the guys that are on the university team were all pretty decent standard. Like none of them made it pro, but they're all decent. Yeah. Is this actually meant to be like, this is actually what a university team might be in India? Like they're not going to be the best of the best because there is more funding going into cricket, for example. Like, no, it's accurate, but I would think there's going to be a handful of players that are decent.
100%. Nobody that was on the script writing or the director even thought that deep about this. But
they're too busy ending racism.
Yeah, have good players, man. It's just the grassroots management, that kind of stuff is not there. India does have some skill, so it's not like even the university teams. You would probably think they're pretty decent.
Okay. My actual favorite Footy Flicks scene, now I'm flicking through my notes, isn't actually really a football scene. It's before that final exhibition game.
You're going to steal my
street team are doing some coaching, and he's got like a board up and he's talking about like shadow marking and stuff. And there's like good explanations of like actual tactics. And I was like, okay, cool. Somebody put a bit of research into it and like did some like, here's how a team would set up and mark. But yeah, terrible.
Yeah, so the tactics, obviously, you found to be, yeah, that's quite interesting for me too. But Mark, what about you? What are your favorite Footy Flicks?
My least favorite is when Lukram was trying to dribble the ball, but he was thinking about Pooja, so he just literally stopped dribbling at one point, and then the guy just came up and stole it from him from behind. And then they tried to do these dramatic scenes towards the end and like the tournament matches where this guy was going towards the net and then he got tackled, and then the camera does this like sudden zoom in to the two players and the ref. Mm-hmm. They did a few of those that were just terrible. And then there was one cool bicycle kick at one point. That was like a small bit of skill. But my favorite stuff was when the street army accepted Lukram and then they started going around like performing techers on the street to try and get money for uniforms and stuff like that. That was actually a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun to watch. And that's where the movie kind of picked up for me, and I was enjoying that part, like genuinely enjoying it, not laughing at it, but having fun with it. So I enjoyed that part. That was my favorite. I feel like
the street army really are the only authentic football thing about this movie.
The believable football thing in this movie.
Yeah.
And you can tell they got like random extras on the street too. Sorry, man. That random extras on the street where they were performing in front of them, and everyone actually looked like they were having a good time. So it felt genuine.
Yeah. I would say my least favorite Footy Flicks are definitely the shots that go from the person's or the dribbler's feet to their upper body, which seems like are from two different scenes. It actually seemed like they're almost tap dancing when they were dribbling with the ball. And then when they cut pan to the top of their body, it was like they were just going around in circles.
Yeah.
Like just literally going around in circles. I know what they were insinuating was that this person is like, you know, using techers to get by, you know, playing the one-on-ones and stuff like that. It didn't look like that. It just looked stupid. Mm-hmm. My favorite, probably just the one scene, and this was very early in the movie when he was at the university, where Lukram actually shimmied, like he went to the side and he completely beat a guy and then scored a goal. That was probably one of my favorite. The goal was ridiculous. The goal should have never gone in. But just the actual shimmy going this way. Sorry?
Didn't they both just like stop in place and then Lukram wasn't even controlling the ball? He kind of just like went sideways.
Yeah, that's not Lukram's fault they stopped.
Did you see the ball go with him? Because I'm assuming the ball was still on the floor.
The ball was still on the floor. No, this was just an upper body. This was just an upper body shot.
The ball's still behind him.
Yeah, this was just an upper body shot. Actually, the worst footy flicks are the practices that the coach makes them do at the university, because they're not really footy flicks, but they're like no team trains like that. Like, why would you want to gas out your players before you guys want to play a game? Right? Like
the small guy jumping on the other guy's back just.
That was hilarious. That was awesome.
Do you know another thing? There's so many goals as well that we see, and it's coming from like a super low angle, and all you see is like a goalie like diving and the ball just going over him. It's like they just like dive, and then someone just threw it in, and like, yep, that's another goal. We'll put that one in.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it for Footy Flicks for this week. So nothing too inspiring, more comedic in a bad way, not even a good way. But let's get to the trivia. Are you guys ready for trivia?
Sure.
Yep. Does anybody have the points board up? I don't remember the points. Yeah.
Currently the scores are Raghav in the lead with 8. I'm in second with 6, and Mark has 5.
So you guys could both. You could leapfrog me, Adam, and Mark could at least catch up to me if he gets all of them right. So let's start trivia. So today's trivia questions do relate to Indian football. Not the most popular football in the world, but nonetheless, I think it's getting better as a country at football. They are starting to throw some money at it, so we'll see.
Yeah, there's a Super League, right? And
there is a Super League.
Retired, older/retired players have ended up going there.
Well, Ian Hume played in that league.
Ian Hume for a while.
Yeah.
Portsmouth
David James.
Portsmouth goalkeeper.
Luis Garcia, ex-Liverpool, played there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they're trying to do it, and these teams actually sell out, man. I've seen some highlights on YouTube, and it's like, damn, that's a good crowd. But anyways, let's get to the first question, and it sort of has to do with the Indian Super League. What is the name of the league that is considered joint Division 1 with the Indian Super League? Is it the I-League? Is it the National Football League? Or is it the Indian Football Championship? Mark, we'll go to you first.
I'm going to say the I-League. I was, for some reason, when you fall into like Wikipedia holes, I did one of those on Indian soccer, and I'm 90% sure it's I-League. And if it's not I-League, then cricket league is called I-League.
How about yourself, Adam?
I think I-League as well. When you said that was the one that jumped at me.
You guys are both correct. Yeah. So India actually does have 2 Division 1 leagues. That's the I-League and that's the Indian Super League. The difference, the I-League is more of a club-based league with promotion and relegation, whereas the Indian Super League is like MLS. It's more franchise-based, all that good stuff. The Indian Super League is, of course, leapfrogging I-League in popularity and TV deals and commercialization. Yeah. But nonetheless, there is the I-League, which in the past has produced some good footballers as well as good Indian football teams. All right, next question. So you guys both got that right. But next question. The biggest derby in India is called the Kolkata Derby. Who is it played between? Is it JCT Mills and Sporting Club de Goa, Northeast United FC versus Mohammedan SC, or East Bengal versus Mohun Bagan? We'll start with Adam.
I will go the second choice.
Which is Northeast United versus Mohammedan SC?
Yeah, I'll go with that.
And how about yourself, Mark?
I'm going to go with the third choice.
Which is East Bengal versus Mohun Bagan?
Yes.
All right. So for that one, Mark, you're correct.
All right.
So this derby actually pulls in up to 80,000 spectators every game. Wow. They are the two most successful club teams in India, having won 20, 30 odd titles each. Mohun Bagan actually played Bayern Munich in a friendly, which was Oliver Kahn's testimonial match, in which Bayern Munich won 3-0, and there was 100,000 people at that match. The stadium that they play in is called the Salt Lake Stadium. I don't know why. It's called the Salt Lake Stadium. Used to be able to hold 100,000 people. Now it's at around 80,000. It actually hosted a friendly between Argentina and Venezuela, I believe, where Messi did actually play. So 80,000 people in the city of Kolkata got to see Messi play, which was awesome.
And they don't call it the El Catico because they would have done that in North America.
Interesting fact. So Mohun Bagan actually just joined merged with Atletico de Kolkata, which was an Indian Super League team.
Yeah,
And now they're called Atletico Mohun Bagan.
And they're not one of like Atletico's.
I think they still might be.
They had one in India, right?
Atletico Kolkata was the ones.
Yeah, okay. Because they had one in San Luis, Mexico, and then they had one in India, yeah.
Yeah, Atletico Kolkata was under the Atletico banner.
Yeah.
So that team merged with Mohun Bagan, and Mohun Bagan now plays in the ISL instead of the I-League, as well as East Bengal is now in the ISL instead of the I-League as well. So that derby happens 3 times a year, twice in the Indian Super League. And then they play their state championships, very much like Brazil, how they play their state championships. So they have like the Tacario and all that stuff. They have that in a similar concept in India as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Okay. Sunil Chetri is a player that I mentioned during this podcast. He's also from the Northeast, very much like our main character. Which one of the following clubs has Sunil Chetri signed with in the past? Number 1, DC United. Number 2, Sporting Lisbon. Or number 3, Villarreal. Mark, we'll go for you first.
It's a toss-up between the second and third, so Sporting Lisbon and Villarreal.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess and say Villarreal.
Okay. And how about yourself, Adam?
I'll go Sporting Lisbon, just to make it interesting.
Adam, you're correct.
Yes.
I put in DC United because he actually did sign with Kansas City Wizards at that time. So he has actually played for them in a US Open Cup game and in a friendly against Manchester United. He actually didn't make any league appearances. He actually didn't make any league appearances, first team appearances for Sporting Club de Portugal or Sporting Lisbon either. He played for their reserve team, so he played for Sporting B.
When was that? Like what era?
2013, 2014, something like that. 2015, okay. Yeah. And Villarreal, he obviously never played for. But that point goes to Adam. So you guys both got the first one right. Mark got the second. And then Adam, you got the third. So what are the point standings looking like now? I don't think any of you guys caught up to me, so that's good news.
Trailing in 7th.
Oh, no, you did catch up.
Yeah. And then you and me are both joint top ragger with 8 points.
But it's your movie next week, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
You have a chance to pull back out in front.
I have to, a chance to pull back. All right. So now that we're done with trivia, we're done with Footy Flicks, and we've, briefly walked through the movie. Let's now do what we got to do and place this on the Matchday matinee table. And so just to reiterate, on the Matchday matinee table, in number 1, first place is Summer of 92. Number 2 is Shaolin Soccer. Number 3 is When Saturday Comes. Number 4 is All the Freckles in the World. Number 5 is Goal 2, Living the Dream. Number 6 is Captain Tsubasa, Euro Daikisen. And number 7 is My English Soccer Adventure. So Mark, let's start with you. Where does this one go?
I mean, it's better than My English Soccer Adventure, so it's already climbed up to 7th. And it wasn't more, those last 10 minutes though. I was gonna say it's not more entertaining than Captain Tsubasa, but it kind of was. I'm gonna put it in number 6 because Captain Tsubasa gave me 30 minutes of entertainment, and so did Penalty with its terrible last 10 to 15, and then the 15 minutes of Street Army stuff. So number 6 for me.
So number 6. So you're dropping Captain Tsubasa in My English Soccer Adventure.
Number 7, yeah. Not a slight against Captain Tsubasa. It's just it was a short. It wasn't a full feature.
Okay, Adam, we move on to you.
I would not have put it above Captain Tsubasa. It's definitely better than My English Soccer Adventure, but at least Captain Tsubasa did what it's like. It was exactly what you expected. Sure, it was short, but it was fun. Had its own racial overtones in there. It within its own way. But the football was more entertaining. It was a great, and I'm into Captain Tsubasa because I just finished the video game last week or the week before. So I'm gonna say it's not better than this. I'd put it in 7th personally.
The Deaf brothers in this remind me of the Takabana brothers in Tsubasa. Yeah. And then the one guy with the big hair was another Tsubasa character.
Yep.
Forgive.
This is interesting because I'm in the range where both of you guys are, but that was my whole thing. Do I put it above Captain Tsubasa or below? Definitely better than My English Soccer Adventure. How bad could that movie actually be for this to be like above that? Yo, dude, I don't know, man.
Like, I came out of Captain Tsubasa wanting to possibly watch more. If you told me there was a sequel to this movie, I would not go and rush to watch it.
That's a good point. And there's a video game for it, and it's like, it's anime. It's good. So I put this below Captain Tsubasa.
Okay.
For sure. So it goes in number 7 for me. My English Soccer Adventure drops. Are you guys all aligned with that? Are we putting this at number 7?
I'm happy with that.
That's fair.
Yeah, awesome. So just to remind everybody, our table now looks like Summer of '92 in first place, Shaolin Soccer in second place, When Saturday Comes in third place, All the Freckles in the World in fourth, Goal 2 in 5, Captain Tsubasa in 6, Penalty in 7, and My English Soccer Adventure drops down to 8th place and will most likely keep dropping. Well, I shouldn't say that because we don't know. I don't want to go into next week or any of the subsequent weeks with a bias already in my head. So I'm just gonna
be fair to it. Yeah.
Alex and Me has to be better than My English Soccer Adventure.
Which?
Alex and Me.
Just
that's got to be better. There's no way it's as bad as My English Soccer.
We'll give that a watch and we'll see. But that brings us to the end of our show for this week. So we did watch Penalty and we reviewed it, and we didn't love much about it, but there you have it. Adam, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
Joypad Goalposts on Twitter and Instagram. Check out my YouTube. I uploaded a whole playthrough of the Captain Tsubasa game. And then this week I'm starting my playthrough of Volta mode from last year's FIFA that I never finished.
Nice. Ooh. Mark, where can people find you?
I'm Mark83 on Twitter, and on Instagram I'm at A3Football.
And as for myself, you can find me at Raghav Sandhu on both Twitter and Instagram. Also, keep connecting with the at Matchday Matinee on Twitter as well. We're always looking for requests. We're always looking to engage with our fans. Go ahead.
How's our Matchday Matinee Fantasy League going?
Oh, it's going well. I think we've got 47 entrants, maybe over 50 entrants.
Am I at 46?
I'm definitely amongst the last. Dude, I'm not doing well in this.
Who's winning right now?
Let's give them the shout out. So shout out goes to The Real Fantasy. Sorry, I don't want to butcher the person's name, but it's Olu Watsonen Ajiboyi. And then shout out to my cousin Mitten as well. You're in second place and almost amongst the top. And then Martin Ohms is in third, also not too far behind. So that's pretty cool. So keep playing. We're thankful that all of you guys are in our fantasy league, but also keep engaging with us, as I was saying before, at Matchday Matinee on Twitter. Always looking for requests, always looking to engage with our fans. Visit our website at matchdaymatinee.com. Always great information about us, who we are, the Matchday Matinee table, and more content coming soon. But that's it for our show. So from the terraces to the cinema, we're Matchday Matinee. See you next time.